Heard a lot about this show, the ex-candidates.
These institutions which we've been told to respect and trust are actually completely untrustworthy.
Have you confirmed that you are negative before attending tonight if you are unvaccinated?
I still see people with masks on and driving, and they're in the car by themselves.
So you can pay my electricity bill, you thinking little spiff.
We're teaching them about what it means to be a pansexual instead of teaching them how to do your taxes.
It's no for me. I say no to the boys.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the ex-candidates. My name is Stephen Troop, and as always, I'm joined by the One Nation candidate for Campbelltown, Adam Zara.
G'day.
How are you going, Adam?
I'm pretty good, Stephen. How are you going?
I'm very well, and we've also got a special guest host this week, Faye Aspiotis, who joined us episode 17. She's a former hydrographer and studied chemical engineering, so we thought we'd bring her on this episode because we are very privileged to be joined by Professor Ian Plimer, who's one of Australia's most renowned and respected geologists. He is the author of 12 books, including his most recent, Green Murder. And he's also worked in a variety of roles for multiple roles in several mining exploration and mineral exploration and mining companies here in Australia and around the world. How are you tonight, Professor Plimer?
Very well. Just had a lovely warm Adelaide day. Had me out in the garden slaving away. Had me at a desk for a while. Finished off with a swim in the pool. Doesn't get any better.
And it wasn't because it was a nice warm day. It wasn't called a heat wave, was it?
Well, no, it was only 23, 24. We had a couple of years ago days here when it was 46, 47. They're heat waves. They're now calling 37 as a heat wave. Well, blimey, come on. That's just a normal summer's day. But if you can control the language, you can control the whole narrative.
Well, I mean, that's what it's all about, isn't it? They've just changed the meaning of everything now, so words kind of have no meaning anymore. Whatever you feel like.
Exactly right, yes. I mean, I can remember living in Broken Hill. You'd have a heat wave, and you would have 3 weeks or so when it didn't get below 38. And at night time, it plummeted down to 38, and up in the daytime, it went to 43, 44. And they were heat waves, but we also called it summer.
Yeah.
Now, can you explain to us how a young boy becomes interested in rocks? I
was spending a lot of my time outdoors. I lived in the edge of Sydney, in a suburb which now is fully populated, but then there were market gardens and dairies and a lot of bush. And I found the odd fossil here and there. I took these materials into the Australian Museum. I had a chap there who took quite an interest in me. The curator of the museum helped me a lot. He used to identify these dreadful fossils for me. Later I realised they were just sheer rubbish, but he spent time with me. And it got me really inspired. And 20 years later, I was publishing with him. 20 years later, we were working together in outback South Australia. So to have the curator of the Australian Museum look after a snotty-nosed 8-year-old, I think shows great service and shows that he was doing his job. And then I used to get banished in school holidays out to near Goulburn in the Southern Highlands of New South Wales. Had an aunt and uncle there. I used to go out in the bush down to the Shoalhaven River. There were fossils there. There were some tin copper mines there. I used to find a bit of gold, find a few sapphires, and that got me interested. So it was a love of the bush, a love of the outdoors, curiosity, and wanting to know how these substances formed. I had a great interest in chemistry, and I still do, because my area of expertise is dealing with the chemistry of natural processes. And so I was interested in how minerals form, why they form, where they form, what are the processes that take place. So that's been a lifelong interest, and it's led me to all parts of the world. It's led me to working in universities as a professor for 30 years, as a lecturer, etc., for another 10 years, working in the mining industry, mid-career, and now working back in the mining industry. So it's given me a very good life. It's got me to travel to all sorts of interesting places, be it Antarctica or be up in Norwegian Finnmark, be it in the tropics, be it in the Alps. I've had a great experience, which is then integrated with my interest in geography, interest in history, interest in people, interested in the evolution of societies. And so it's been a wonderful career to have. It's a career where you can travel, where you do get paid well, and you are basically very free.
Wow.
That's great.
It sounds like a storyline of a movie called Good Will Hunting. I think we should call it Good Ian Hunting. I think it's have someone, a professor, have the curator of the museum take interest in you, and then help you flourish.
Well, yes, and it was wonderful of him to do that. I think he did it with all the kids, but what really made it good for him was that he saw me become a professor, and he knew that he was the one who inspired me. And I think that's very heartening for a person who would have been in his 80s to learn that this snotty-nosed little kid that came in from the North Shore of Sydney and came into the Australian Museum actually took his advice and had a flourishing career. And he used to come up when I was professor and head of geology at the University of Newcastle. He used to come up to Newcastle and drink the house dry, and often would miss the last train, so would have to stay overnight. And that was just wonderful. That was a great thing for his life also.
Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, in recent years, you're most notable for the book Green Murder, which is this one here. Now, I firstly want to dive into, there's all this talk at the moment around net zero. Now, you talk about the fact that we're already net zero, because if you take into account all the grasslands and crops and you say rangeland, forest soils, and the continental shelf waters, they absorb a lot of carbon dioxide. Can you just talk about that and explain that for us?
Yes, we emit a certain amount of carbon dioxide from transport, from agriculture, from industry, from generating electricity, and that has to go somewhere. It goes into the atmosphere. It stays a short period of time in the atmosphere before it's dissolved back in the ocean or goes into vegetation via photosynthesis. Now, Australia being a very large landmass with very few people means that the large landmass can absorb huge amounts of carbon dioxide. And if you believe that carbon dioxide drives global warming, and I've used the word belief deliberately because that's a word of religion and politics, not a word of science. If you believe that carbon dioxide drives global warming, then Australia is doing its bit. We should go to Paris with our hand out and make sure that poor countries pay us a lot of money.
Yeah. Wish you all the best with your treatment. I'll definitely say a prayer for you for sure. I'll say it many times. I want these books for my children, because I talk to my children about climate change all the time, and my kids are quite balanced. They're not fearful. They're not scared. I said, don't worry, the Earth's going to be here tomorrow. Don't worry. So I want these books, and I want you to be successful, more successful than you are. So thank you very much for your time, Professor Plimer. It's been amazing. Stephen's going to wrap us up, but I just wanted to say thank you before he started anyway.
Cheers.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Plimer. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share it far and wide. We really rely on our viewers to get this message out there. YouTube's tried to shut us down now, so head over to Spotify and Rumble. We're very active there. And get the word out, because people like Professor Ian Plimer, they've got a lot of experience behind them. They're not afraid to tell their truth, and they deserve to be heard. So hopefully we can contribute to that in some sort of way. And also, I wish you all the best with your treatment. I hope you're around a lot while longer so you can keep fighting this fight.
I will be. This is just a grease and oil I'm going for.
Amazing.
Thank you very much, Professor Plimer.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no worries. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Okay, cheers. Bye.